Hello, comedy fans. Bryan Callen is a comedian, podcaster, writer, and actor. As far as the stand-up is concerned, he will be in Austin this weekend at the newly reopened Cap City Comedy Club. Tickets for July 28th through July 30th can be purchased at capcitycomedy.com. Bryan, thank you for the time. How you doing today?
Oh, hold on. You got to see my face. There it is. Look at that right there. There I am.
There's that beautiful mug.
That's what they say, buddy. I've had no work done. A little work, actually, a little work. But other than that, this is all natural. This is all natural.
What's
Take
up,
me in.
man?
I like your throne, bro. That's good.
Thank you. If you hear any coffee shop ambiance, it's because I am actually in a coffee shop in Breckenridge, Colorado right now. So I apologize if it's distracting at all.
Well, Breckenridge is amazing. If you hear the sound of a baby in the background, that'd be my 6-month-old child, and I'm 55, still doing it.
Cool.
I thought it'd be a good idea to have a kid in high school when I'm 75.
You're going to be the guy that everybody is mistaking for a grandpa. That's
right. The old guy with plastic surgery. I'll do it all. Testosterone. I'll do whatever it takes to stay young and not die. Okay.
Well, thankfully, you're not going to hear my 7 and 5-year-old right now. This interview is providing me a bit of a respite from them. They're on a mountain somewhere right now, and I'm getting to talk to you, Bryan.
Breckenridge, Colorado is one of the greatest places on the planet. Let's start there.
Yep.
Okay. So it's amazing.
Yeah, and I had only skied here for a number of years, but we came and visited in the summer these last few. And I got to say, the summer in the mountains is almost as good as winter in the mountains.
100%. Well, my parents retired in Park City. I say it's better. I mean, I'm not a good skier. Are you a good skier?
Yeah, but I'm also 45 years old now, and how much of a beating do I want my knees, my back, my ankles, and everything else to take by going out there for 4 or 5 days, right?
Well, couple things. First of all, you look every bit of 35.
Thank
You've
you.
got tight-fitting skin, very clear blue eyes, and a full head of blonde, dare I say, a mane of hair. So you belong on the slopes. You look like you look like a Nordic. You look like you come from the ice. You're a northern white, as I call it. I bred with a woman like of your ilk. So yeah, I'm not skiing. The cold cuts right through my Mediterranean bones. I was never that guy.
The irony, Bryan, is that I'm just about as Armenian as your podcast colleague, Sam Tripoli, who, by the
Come
way,
on.
please
Are
tell him
you?
hello when you talk to him. It's been a few years. Yeah, I am actually. I'm more Armenian than anything else. The only way that you can tell is from the
Sharp
bird
nose.
beak
Sharp
level
nose, bro.
hook in the nose.
Yeah.
And I consider every day donating my children to a traveling circus. Those are the two ways that you can tell that I'm Armenian.
Those are the two ways where you can make you're always looking to make money some way. But I would say that somebody in your lineage, or a lot of people in your lineage, got busy with some very blonde, blue-eyed Russians. That's what's really going on. All right, I'm sorry about that, but that's what happened.
That's
Your
right.
your grandmother was a little bit of a tramp, if you know what I mean.
There's some Russian, there's some Welsh. The Welsh is the trampy side of things, you know.
Okay. So you got Armenian and Welsh.
Armenian, Welsh, German. There's a little bit of Italian in there as well. I'm just a complete mutt, Bryan.
Okay, you're a mix. All right, I got you then. Never mind. So I see. This is why you don't judge a book by its cover. This is a good way to start this interview. The lesson of today is that we are all of one ilk, and if you're going to judge people by the way they look, you're going to be wrong a lot of times.
That's right. Go in with your preconceived notions, but also understand that those notions all may be busted 5 minutes into the conversation, right?
Don't be afraid to read patterns, though. If somebody's got clammy hands and they smell like booze, get yourself a different dentist, okay? All right? That's all I'm saying.
I think that's a pretty good rule of thumb. So I'm excited that you're one of the first comedians to get to take part in the newly reopened Cap City Comedy Club. I know that you performed at the old venue in the past. Is Austin a place that you generally love to come and spread that comedic seed, if you will?
Yeah, it's one of those amazing places. You know, like you travel all over the place and you go to different parts of the country, even the world, but Austin's always going to be awesome. And when I think of Austin, I think of food trucks and delicious food. I really do. I think of live music. I just think of an eclectic group of innovative, thoughtful artists. They might be annoying, but it's still Texas, and I appreciate that. It's just something I like about it. It's I love the neighborhoods. I love that. I still think it's been 2 years since I've been to Austin, but I still think that, well, a lot of the California money has come in, but it still has that charm. And the problem with, outside investment and like rich Californians and stuff, sometimes they come in and tear down the old houses that were there that gave the neighborhood that fabric. And they put something else in their own likeness and image. And it doesn't have a connection to the community. And they also don't need the community. That's what happened in Venice. So that's what I worry about with Austin.
It's one of those things where I've heard McConaughey talk about it. I've heard your boy Rogan talk about it, who's obviously an Austinite now. It's like, don't bring the BS that you left that previous place to the new place. You don't
Right.
have to necessarily try and fit in, but try and adapt a little bit better and try and be a little bit more accommodating of everybody else around you, because otherwise you're going to turn it back into what California already is.
I'll give you an example. My buddy owns several businesses and big business, a lot of businesses. So he's a wealthy guy. He gets sued. I think it was something crazy. He's been sued 1,000 times in California. Okay. In California, he's been sued 1,000 times. Okay. And that's in the period of less than 5 years. Think about this, 1,000 times. In the same period in Texas, his businesses in Texas, he's been sued once. And that person was justified. There is a difference in the culture. There is a difference in the notion that I'm responsible for myself as an individual and somebody owes me something. And I think that it's fascinating that can actually be something you can track that predictably state to state. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I just saw you retweet a Bill Maher bit on the trans community and how much bigger it is in California than Ohio. I mean,
yeah, it's called social contagion.
Exactly.
It's called social contagion. Gender wasn't something that I'm too busy. I am too busy in my life paying bills and trying to get like my kids a better life. Literally, it's a full-time job. Everything's a full-time job. Trying to make money, everything's a full-time job. I can't have gender and all your pronouns I don't have time to keep track of that. Tell me what you want me to call you. How about it? How about this? I don't care if you would identify as non-binary, trans. How about, this is going to sound radical, I just call you by your name. How's that sound?
Whoa,
okay.
Whoa. Be careful there, Bryan.
I know, dude. It's crazy. Let me just call you by your name. I'll do it. And I had a coffee. I was getting my coffee and the person in front of me had long hair. But I said, well, he's got that great hair. And he said, she, and did it very nicely. And I said, well, see, now I'm old and I didn't realize that. And I would never call her he again. I don't want to hurt her feelings. I don't want to be the guy that says, no, I'm not interested in that. So if that's how this person wants to be referred to for now or forever, I'm your ally. I'll help you out there. But don't act as though this is the biggest challenge of our time. Don't act like this is something don't act like 30% of the population is trans. None of this is true. It's still a very, very tiny minority. And we don't quite know what makes it happen. And we certainly don't know how to make it so that the trans people who are truly trans, I guess the suicide rate is something crazy. I don't want to quote, I don't know. I hear a lot of statistics, but I haven't seen the actual data behind it. But if it is as high as 50% or whatever, I understand people who say we got to stop this. But I don't know if anything we're doing right now is doing that. I don't know. I don't know enough. So I try to stay out of it. The point is, I'm not that interested in talking about it because I don't think it's affecting nearly as many people as people make it out to be. It's become a side show job for people. It's become a rallying cry for people who are doing their best to gain social credibility. I just don't buy that people care that much. I don't. Like when you say transphobic, what are you talking about? I'm asking a fucking question. You're losing me. It's just you're causing me to resist it. So I'd rather just not even enter the conversation. Like, I don't care. What are you? Okay, cool. I don't care. Moving on.
Yeah, it's a fascinating example of virtue signaling. And you're right. Oftentimes it's being used as a distraction to keep people in the dark on other more serious things going on that actually have more of a direct impact on us day to day.
Yeah, but it's also like there are a lot of people that say they're trans and they're not. I don't
Right.
believe you. You are hijacking a movement because you are trying to negotiate that problem called individuality. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, see, to be an individual, to be a fully realized person, to self-actualize, to be a high-value human being, to be the kind of person that does get the goodies in life, which we all want: status, power, money, recognition, working with really smart, fascinating people, doing what you love and you're passionate about. That takes so much fucking work. That takes so much dedication, courage, repetition, failure. Sometimes it takes 50 years. And then there are people that say, I'm not going to do any of that work. I'm going to hijack a movement, or I'm going to identify as something radical, or I'm going to be radical about something. And that's how I'm going to get my credibility. And that's what I reject. It's a little bit like going, well, I don't have any skills, but I'm going to start walking around with a sword. Yeah. And I'm going to bejewel my hilt. And now every time I walk in a room, people are going to go, that's the guy with the sword. And I'm wearing a fucking sword. And I might pierce my dick as well. And so now I'm the guy that has a sword and has a pierced dick. It didn't take much work, but I'm being talked about at least, you know? That's kind of what bothers me about it. If you're truly trans, I am your fucking ally. I don't know anything about what you're going through. I will protect you to the nth degree. I really will. I've always been that way because I care about people. And I love the difference. And I love the cornucopia of sexuality and mentality that makes this great country so rich with diversity. Yes, to all of that. But there are a lot of imposters out there. Fuck you. That's what I have to say. Leave your sword at home, bro. You can't fit in a car with that. There are no seats in my automobile for you. You don't get to sit in the front all the time and have your sword sticking in the back.
Love that. And there are obvious lines here, like the Leah Thomas, the Penn swimmer who competed as a male in college.
Get the fuck out of here with that guy.
It's insane.
You're stealing women's hard-earned All-American status, scholarships. You, with your 6'4" frame, who couldn't compete with men. Get out of here. No, unfair, anti-female, anti-woman. It's all bullshit. Don't tell me, you're shattering records. Yeah, bro. You're 6'4", and you still have you're still basically a guy, from what I understand. Didn't even have. I mean, maybe it took some estrogen. I don't know. I mean, it's that's where I have a big problem. And it doesn't make me transphobic. Fuck off.
So there's that level. And then there's the level of identifying as female to go to prison at an all-female prison and then getting to knock up like three or four of your fellow prisoners too,
Yes. We have to be careful about these hard cases, because that's what happens with people like us. And I'm guilty of it. We'll take hard cases like this and go, see, this is what happens. Sometimes a kid gets puberty blockers and doesn't want this. So I'm a mouthpiece about that. I do that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, I go back to a lot of bad cases, a lot of abuse, yes, of this gender movement. But I do think that most of the people, like, I do genuinely believe there are people that are born in a different body. I do genuinely believe someone like Bruce Jenner felt like a woman his whole life. And I think that that's a real thing that goes on.
Yeah.
And I think it must be very, very difficult. I have personally interviewed and talked to people, including a SEAL Team 6 guy. He wrote a book called Warrior Princess, which I read, and I interviewed him. That dude was one of the baddest dudes. That guy was a SEAL Team 6 decorated operative who saw more combat than most people.
Mm-hmm.
And always had started doing these almost suicide missions because he couldn't live in his body anymore. Finally got out, lost his kids, lost everything because he transitioned. And I don't know what's going on with him now. I hope he's okay or she's okay now. But this is now he became a woman because it was literally the only way he was going to save his own life. So she became a she. Now, I'm not about to criticize that person, criticize the people helping that person. I don't know enough about it, man. I'm not going to do that. So,
speaking of you interviewing people and doing some research for this conversation over the last few days, I see that you have, it looks like maybe a new interview series on YouTube, Bryan Callen's Best Of, and you spoke
yes.
Sammy the freaking Bull Gravano.
Yep. YouTube.com/Bryan Callen. That's the YouTube channel. YouTube.com/Bryan Callen Comedy. And it's I have this new show called Best Of, which is basically the best of whatever town has to offer or whatever. And I flew Sammy the Bull Gravano in. I did a 2-part series on him, and it was fascinating. I spent 2 days with that guy. You're talking about the number 2 underboss of the Gambino crime family. The baddest, I mean, you're talking about as dyed-in-the-wool mafioso as it gets. Went to jail for killing 19 people. You know, all the guys you hear about worked for him or with him. You know, and I've never been into the mafia stuff, but his storytelling was so intriguing. And there's an artist in there. He's half an artist. It's really weird. He's such a walking dichotomy, just a guy you can't really pinpoint. And I was fascinated. And yeah, it was. I would encourage anybody to. We redid a scene from Black Mass where he plays Johnny Depp. It was his favorite scene because I wanted him to play a gangster. And we redid that. So it's I think it's episode 6 and episode 7, Sammy the Bull Gravano. But we really get into it in the second episode. Like, I'm driving with him, and my buddy was recording the shit we were talking about on the iPhone. He didn't even know the camera was on. And it was intense. Intense, man. I was nervous. I was afraid of him because I'm old enough to remember when he ran New York. So he was terrifying. I mean, that's a terrifying dude. About 5'5", too. About 5'5" inches tall.
He's the reason why John Gotti obviously got rung up. So even at in his older age, he still has that factor about him that has you a little bit scared of him, huh?
You don't lose that. He's still Sammy the Bull Gravano. Yeah. Well, I talked to him yesterday. I FaceTimed him yesterday.
So you guys are just good friends now.
Well, you know, I called him and told him, I was like, listen, man, people really like the episode, man. You're killing it. And they do, you know.
So Sammy's a good storyteller, but I consider you a pretty good storyteller too, from just listening to the podcast over the years, seeing your stand-up over time. You've got 3 different specials out starting in 2012. What's key to a good
I'm about to drop my next one. I'm about to drop Man Tears, and that is going to be September 3rd. I'm going to drop that.
You gonna go independent with that one, not rely on.
Yeah, I'm going YouTube. I'm going YouTube. I'm following the Andrew Schultz model. I'm not gonna actually put it up for, you know, sale. I'm just gonna put it out there for free because for me it's all about selling tickets.
Love that. Yeah. So are you going to be performing this stand-up in Austin this weekend?
Yeah, but I'm already writing a whole bunch of new stuff. I can't let Roe v. Wade and the gun laws go. I got to talk about it. I have to. So I'm excited. I don't know, man. It just feels really good. You're like, every time I write a special, I do a special, I got to throw everything out. It's 2 years of work minimum. Mm-hmm. Now I got to start from scratch. And you go through a period of writer's block where you're like, dude, what am I saying? What can I do? What if this is it? And then somehow it comes. If you just sit quietly for long enough, it comes to you. So it's pretty cool.
I think this is the best time to be a stand-up comedian. Obviously, stand-up, the art form, got going back in the 1960s, 70s. It really starts to take off. There are these different eras. We're in a fascinating place now because, and you're somebody who's been a bit of a victim of this, that so many people are looking to cancel others because they say or do things that they disagree with. But at the same time, if you can establish yourself and show a sort of fearlessness in the face of that mob, then it seems like you can really excel in this day and age in stand-up.
I hope so. Satire, there's always room for satire. There have always been people who try to kill the artist. There were always, you know, with the king would say, he's not making me laugh, kill the fool. You know, that's always been a reality for anybody in the business of comedy. I think what has been used as a weapon against anybody who certain people disagree with has been sort of taking, especially men, and labeling them something deviant sexually, or you what you have to do anytime you get canceled, regardless of what it is, if you're innocent, if you didn't do anything, is because you don't get away with it otherwise. You don't get away with being, I don't think you get away with anything in life. And if you did something that is very shameful, then own it. Own it. You got it. Otherwise, it'll eat you up from the inside. But if you are someone who is innocent, and there is trial by media, and there is execution by media, and there's execution by social media in today's world, I don't see it getting better. Pendulums always swing back and forth, but it's a very powerful force because corporate America is terrified of any bad Twitter storm, etc. I mean, it took one article, not even mentioned by name, to cancel the biggest movie star on the planet. Johnny Depp didn't work for 6 fucking years, okay? 6 years. Nobody's interested in due process. And when that happens, you are next. That's my problem with it. But if you're innocent, don't stop moving, don't stop talking, and stand up for yourself. Stand up for yourself. Because there are always going to be people that doubt and things like that. Not relevant, not important. You stand with, and when chaos hits, you better fucking tell the truth, because it's the only way out. It's the only way out. And there may not be a way out. There'll be damage that you will not walk away from. There will be real damage. Let me tell you about cancel culture. You lose everything. You lose everything. All your money. You lose your house. You can lose everything. Your kids have to go to a different school. They have to sell the dog, whatever the fuck it is. Don't kid yourself. So when you wield that trial by media, when media and social media is judge, jury, and executioner, which is what goes on, don't kid yourself. That person is done. They can't earn a living a lot of times, okay? And their family, their immediate family, they go without. It's a disaster. So if you're going to wield that club without any due process, you better be choosing the right targets. What did Johnny Depp say? I lost everything, nothing less than nothing. He's right. And so it's important to realize that. Some people are creeps. Some people are shitheads. Harvey Weinsteins of the world need to fucking rot in hell. They suck. And we've all known that. I've been in this business for 30 years. I knew what a scumbag that guy was. My girlfriend, my fucking girlfriend, long-term girlfriend, was the first person to come out against Harvey Weinstein. The first person to come out against Harvey Weinstein, okay? And I remember it. I remember her telling me that story very well. And I knew all about that dude and other women. I know a lot of famous actresses that dealt with that didn't come forward. I personally know that. I know that. And I knew it before 2017. Okay? So, yeah, there are assholes out there. Oh, and by the way, anybody who thinks that we as people should have stood up and talked about it, you couldn't prove shit. That's where the Me Too movement's really good. That's where it comes forward, and it's like, fair play is good shit, right? Fair play is all good.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good. I don't like a bully, and I certainly don't like scumbags. But let's just be careful about the club we wield. We're getting serious here, dude.
So I'm guessing that the ability to admit when you've done wrong and not doing so, eating you from the inside, is the reason why Bill Cosby's eyes have been going over the last few years. Then
it's why he looks like a boiled turtle. That guy looks like. I think he's a sociopath.
Oh yeah, no question about that.
It's so weird to be a genius comic and be that much. It was 80 fucking women.
Well, the dude was making Spanish fly jokes back in the 1970s. I mean, it was in his comedy act.
I know. It's so weird, man. It's so cringy. I can't even take it. So anyway.
I'm in that category of people who first saw you on Mad TV in the mid 1990s. I was junior, senior in high school when you were going through that craziness, all the hilarious comedic stuff, obviously the impersonations and whatnot. I was surprised when looking into things that you've only been putting out stand-up specials for about 10 years or so. Have you been doing stand-up that entire time, or is stand-up something that happened a little bit more recently for you?
No, I stopped doing stand-up for the age of 28 to like 35 because I was acting. It was really Rogan. It was really Joe Rogan that got me back in stand-up.
Huh.
And believe it or not, Dane Cook's example. I watched him one day and he was so fucking amazing. I was like, I got to get back into comedy. And so in 2006, I got past the Comedy Store and I just started going ham. And I never looked back. So that 2006 was when I really started doing like, you know, a lot of spots in LA and started doing stand-up full time and then touring, you know, that was wild.
Did you and Rogan first meet on the set of News Radio?
Yeah, no, we met on the set of Mad TV in 1996.
Oh, wow. Okay.
1996. That's how long I've known that guy.
So you've been doing stand-up again for about 20 years now then, huh?
Yeah. More than that, but yeah.
Is there anything that is off limits now that places that you were willing to go 20 years ago?
No, not for me. I've never been a mean comic, and I never liked making fun of. Well, back in the day, you could make fun of gay people with impunity. I never did it in my life. I never used the F word for gay people, but people were always using it all the time. I never liked it. And I never liked it because I had a gay acting teacher when I was in 1991 who explained to me what it was like to be a gay man and have your head kicked in by a bunch of straight dudes while you're trying to protect your lover, you know. Like that dude he explained to me what real violence was like for a gay man growing up in the 60s and 70s and 80s. And I never forgot it because I admired him so much. He kind of saved my life a little bit. He was my acting teacher. He explained to me that that there were other types of masculinity. I always thought there was only one kind of masculinity. My dad was a Marine. You know, he was 6'4" and 240 pounds and just a man, not sensitive to the environment. Didn't care about what kind of food went in his mouth. Just a man. He was just a big old bear and I was a kitty cat. I was born a cat. Finicky eater, sensitive to his environment, sensitive in general emotionally. And this man said to me, you have one idea of what masculinity is. It's the metric you use to measure the strongest football player, the best boxer, the biggest superhero. You ain't that, bro. There are other strengths men can possess. Understanding, empathy, compassion, emotional intelligence, emotional vulnerability. I felt all those things. So that's why I became an actor. It's the only time I felt alive. It's the only time I felt at home. The only time I felt normal. And I think that's the way I feel when I'm on stage too. And talking this way.
Yeah, I think it works really well. All right, last question, Bryan. I want to touch on something that you touched on a little bit earlier. You talked about failure and the lessons that can be learned from failure. I'm a big fan of exiting comfort zones because you can achieve great things as a result, but oftentimes you fall flat on your face, and there's some great lessons to learn in the meantime. What is one of the biggest failures from your life, and what was the lesson that you took from that?
Well, I've talked about this many times. There's a book by a Zen poet called One Continuous Mistake. And life is one continuous mistake. And I fall into the habit of going back in my life and thinking about the people I would have avoided and the things I would have avoided doing. Okay. Mm-hmm. But so most of my life has been failure, honestly. I mean, 90% of my life, and I'm not kidding, has been failure. Not fast enough, not big enough, not strong enough, not good looking enough, not funny enough, not patient enough, not smart enough, not disciplined enough. I mean, all those things. And so in terms of my biggest failure, the part of it might have been I suffer from, and I heard Elon Musk say the same thing, which was really interesting. I probably suffered from wishful thinking too often. It'll work out. It'll work out. I don't have to worry about that right now. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You get away with nothing. You get away with nothing. So you get what you put in, and most of the time and all the time, the contract you enter into with life will be mocked, torn up, rearranged, canceled, etc., etc. It doesn't matter how good you are. You have to accept that. You have to accept that loss and failure and even a flood that takes everything you've ever worked on will happen to you. And that's the point of being a limited creature called a human being. And what really matters is, who are you after that happens? Who are you while that happens? Please accept that God has no favorites. You are not one of God's favorites, I promise. All of the bad things can come for you, and some of them will come for you. And that is to be embraced. Chaos happens. And I think it's very important to know not only that that is coming, but that's supposed to come, because it's supposed to make you a better person. It's supposed to make you more resilient. And maybe the most important thing, it's supposed to teach you, or at least show you, who you knew you were all along. There are hidden gifts in destruction. So if something bad happens to you, you're listening to me, if something bad happens to you, and it will, when the flood comes, your job is to orchestrate your response in such a way that in a year, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years, you look back on that event and you say, I wouldn't have changed it if I could, because it made me who I am today. And that's what I'd say to anybody who's younger.
Wow, what a fantastic way to end this conversation. He is Bryan Callen, a comedian, podcaster, writer, and actor. As far as the stand-up is concerned, he'll be in Austin this weekend at the newly reopened Cap City Comedy Club. Tickets for July 28th through July 30th can be purchased at capcitycomedy.com.
Or BryanCallen.com.
Or BryanCallen.com. My apologies. BryanCallen.com is also another great place to get those tickets. Bryan, thank you so much for the time today. Big fan of your work over the years, and really enjoy the conversation as well.
I appreciate it, pal. Come out to a show and check out Best Of on YouTube and Conspiracy Social Club on Rockfin. That's a fun podcast where Sam Tripoli comes up with conspiracies and I debunk them. And it's WWE. So it's a lot of fun.
Great. Thank you so much, Bryan.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you to Gentleman Jesus for the intro and outro music. Hear more of his work at gentlemanjesus.com. And thanks to Joshua Bates for the video editing. If you have any video editing needs, hit him up on Instagram at Forager Digital. And thanks as always to you for checking us out. You can watch, listen, learn, and connect for free at booksonpod.com. For Books on Pod, I'm Trey Elling. Good day.